is that they don't want people to have fathers, okay? And child support system is just a way to further disaffect men and make them become patrons to the state. If they can't trap you any other way, this is a way that they're going to trap you. Is they're going to try to make sure that you pay an additional 20% of your income in the form of a tax to the government over and over and over again. Okay, so a lot of people are saying that there was some tweet or truth, I guess. I don't know. Maybe you should have, I don't know why they're called truths. It doesn't matter. Point being is that there was a post that was made by Donald Trump that basically said that he would be ending the child tax credit for custodial parents and then transferring it to the parent who is non-custodial or the person who is essentially paying child support. A lot of people took this and ran with it as if it was gospel. The truth is somewhere kind of in the middle. According to Reuters, this has been absolutely debunked. So I can start by saying that. And it's not that I 100% trust the news media, but I did look into it and I even tried to search on X, Twitter, and Truth Social to find this post, and it doesn't exist. It turns out that this came from some TikTok way back on like January 15th. And now you can't scroll through YouTube without missing it now. Everyone's saying Trump's going to get rid of child support or Trump's going to get rid of your child tax credit. It's not true, guys. So for the people who wanted to get that part of the title there and the clickbait there, you got your answer. Now's your chance to click off before I deliver my personal opinion, which may be a little bit unvarnished, I guess, because I haven't really had a chance to fully think about the implications of something like this. But as a thought experiment, we can talk about it a little bit. If Trump were to actually pass something like this, first of all, it's if he were to do something, it would be through signing a bill or through executive order. It's not something that he can just decree and it be so. Think of a executive order, something like a company policy when a new boss takes over, where he's kind of more strict with clock in, clock out times, more strict with breaks, and more so directing on how production is overseen throughout the company. An executive order is exactly that. It's a way that the law is going to be enforced through the executive branch and through Trump's appointments. He can also then the president can then also assign people to specific roles in the government, as well as pressure Congress to pass certain laws that then he can sign. But if he were to pass an executive order, it would basically do nothing because the laws in the books are something like this: the custodial parent. Uh, the custodial parent can claim the child tax credit if the child lives with them more than 50% of the time. And that's basically the gist of the law. I'm not a lawyer. You guys can look it up yourself, but I have been through it. So I can kind of give a little bit of insight as to my personal situation, and then we can kind of war game, if you will, how this would then apply to other people if this were to actually happen. In my specific case, I am a co-parent where my time spent with my daughter is slightly 50-50, but if we had to be realistic, it's more like 51-49. And then that time then reverses the following week, where I have a set schedule with my child Friday through Monday, it then flips around to then be Saturday through Tuesday. Mind you, in that situation, I guess my wife didn't want to give up her weekends. But I think it made me a better person overall, going from work to work and kid to just kid in that order over and over again. It's work, work and kid, or just my kid, and I don't really have days off. I'm not really complaining about it because I get to reap the benefits of being with my daughter. If only other men were like this, then there probably no need for child support to begin with. But let's kind of take a look here because because I'm a co-parent. Um, I still pay child support in the state that I live in, even though I have my kid sometimes 51% of the time, sometimes 49% of the time. I guess they didn't want to go in and look at it with a magnifying glass and determine what would actually be a good child support appointment. In the current system, child support stands at roughly about 20% or so of someone's income, and that amount can be adjusted up, rarely adjusted down, but adjusted up as the child ages or if a man, or I'm going to say man in this case because 90% of child support, something like 99%, the overwhelming majority of child support is paid from man to woman. But if the non-custodial parent has a raise or gets a new job or whatever, and they're making more money, then that number can be adjusted up to compensate for the lifestyle change. Let's go ahead and war game out what this would mean then if that were to suddenly go away. I don't think it would be necessarily fair. Now, like I said, this is going to be a very unvarnished opinion. I pay child support, but I had the foresight before that happened during my custody battle, which I mean, my ex-wife tried to destroy me. She tried to take my child away from me completely, and I didn't do anything. I wasn't abusive. I wasn't mean. I didn't hurt my child. So the judge completely threw that out. He was like, no, like, you want visitation every other weekend, supervised? Like, well, get that out of here. That's bananas. Thank God that the judge was able to see that at least. So that was nice. But as someone who pays child support, I don't think it would be fair to then say that, okay, every single man, in most cases, and some women, will now be able to claim the child tax credit because they're paying child support. I had the foresight to ask for alternating years for child tax credit because she had this whole list of things that she wanted. She wanted the truck and she wanted the house and she wanted this and that and she wanted to share in her debt, which the judge did approve all that. And because I only had one request and was that the child tax credit is evenly split, alternating every other year, the judge said, okay, fine. Like, so it was nice that that was just easily approved. I don't think a lot of men either one attend court or two are prepared to for the battle that is to ensue and to understand what their rights are. You can ask for that. And if the judge sees it as deemable, then he will deem that. So I don't understand why people just accept that the mother is definitively just going to get the child tax credit until the kid is 18 years old. That's not the case in my case, and you can ask for it. That's what you should do. If that law were to be written and then passed, it wouldn't necessarily be fair because as a custodial parent, there are other things that you do have to pay for aside from what child support may cover. So things like doctor's visits, dentist visits, you have to take time off of work to attend those things. A lot of custodial parents too are very involved, or at least more involved with the schooling of their child than the non-custodial parent, where they're going to parent-teacher conferences and it's a lot. Now, there's going to be some people out there, just to play devil's advocate, I'll go ahead and beat you to the punch. That's part of raising a kid, and you should be happy that you get to do that. I agree. You don't get extra points for being a parent, it's part of the job. However, it is important to understand that there are additional costs that may be associated with raising a child other than just child support, and we should split everything 50-50. When my income is up, there are more things that I can do for my child that maybe my ex-wife can't do. And when her income is up, there's things that she can do for our child that maybe I can't do. And it seems like there's always this ebb and flow of that. And we understand that enough that we try to work with each other. At least we're cordial now in that regard. I would highly suggest that other people who are in that situation try to at least get cordial with the other person to try to ease the pain and the tension that could be tossed then onto your child as a byproduct. If this law was then passed, not only would it not be fair to the non custodial parent, but then you would also see another side effect. Now, ladies, I know it's about 25 to 30% of you who watch my channel. That doesn't mean that you get to hate me now for pointing out the other side of this equation. While it can be abusive on the non custodial parent's part to be able to claim a tax credit, let's just say like their child support comes out to be less than that tax credit. How is that even fair? But or if it's significantly more than the child tax credit, which is right about $5,000, I think it might be 5,500. How is that fair? That all you get to write off then is well, not really a write off. It's not a deduction. It's a credit. Um, all you get to then write off is or get in return is $5,000. Let's say you're paying 10,000 or 15,000, $20,000 in child support. If you make six figures a year, you can easily pay $20,000 in child support. $5,000, that's going to help. I don't think so. So there's good and bad sides to that. But back to the point where I was going to say, and before you click off the video, ladies, and before you hate me, you do know that there are some ladies who abuse the system. They work very little, if not part time, and they have three, four, five kids by 4 and 5. They have three, 4, and 5 kids by like 2 or 3 baby daddies, or three, 4, and 5 kids by 7 baby daddies. It doesn't matter. The math doesn't have to math in this instance. All that matters is that at the end of the year, going into the next year, that they have those social security numbers lined up to be able to claim that child tax credit. Now they could be working poverty wages, making 12 to 15 thousand dollars a year, and if they have 5 kids, then be able to get a $25,000 tax return, even though they only paid roughly $1,000 in taxes. Oh, and one more thing, I completely forgot about this. There's a big problem with paternity fraud. The exact numbers are debated all over the place. It's as little as 3%, but it's as high as 30%. So there are some guys out there that are paying for kids that are not theirs. I thank God that I had the foresight once again to make sure that I had a paternity test at the birth of my child. Now you guys may say that's absurd. She was your wife. I just kind of found it in just regular good taste and like, I mean, it could have been in poor taste, but it was normal because this was during COVID. It was really kooky times. I don't know what the problem was, but I was even questioned if I was the kid's father. They're like, and you're the father, right? And I was like, why else am I here? Right? They can only allow one person in here and I'm in here. So yeah. And then they were like, oh, and you guys are married? Like, it was like a strange thing. We had been married for years up to that point. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna get a paternity test. hmm hmm Maybe it's just kind of this weird feeling I had in my stomach, but she's mine, so it's fine. But I would encourage that everyone gets a paternity test. That is one thing that I think is in Texas. They passed that where um every birth of a child there's a paternity test conducted. I could be wrong. It may be a different state, but the point is that it should just be normal practice at this point. It's a widely available test. It's really cheap to do. They should just include it. Oh, and there's a paternity test just in case, because the rates of divorce are crazy. The rates of separation are even crazier, and single parenthood is on the rise, i.e., single motherhood. It's been on the rise for like the last 30. No, it's been on the rise for like the last 50 years. Okay, and this was also by design. Maybe I'll touch on that in a different video, is that they don't want people to have fathers, okay? And the child support system is just a way to further disaffect men and make them become patrons to the state. If they can't trap you any other way, this is a way that they're going to trap you. Is they're going to try to make sure that you pay an additional 20% of your income in the form of a tax to the government over and over and over again. And some of you guys say, it's not a tax, it's a fee. Okay, well, yeah, sure, it's a fee. I agree with that. But and then you guys are going to say, well, then the state gets nothing out of it. Yes, they do. There's a child support fee every single year that they take. And then it's up to the judge to determine how much the percentage that they're taking from you goes to support the court and how much actually goes to the mother. And we could talk about those other mothers out there who not all the money goes to kids. They get that child tax credit every single year during tax season. Single mom, 3 kids, she got 15K coming her way as a credit, not a deduction. Okay. So tax credit, as good as cash, comes her way, even though she basically paid $300.25 in taxes. Now she's going to get $15,000 back. Doesn't seem to make sense to me. I'm sorry, ladies. I had to do it. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Then the child support goes to the mom, and mom needs new nails. Mom needs to get her hair done. And I don't see how that's important when the kids need to eat. Oh, wait, there's other welfare programs for that. Now, here's the part where I'm going to also make another disclosure. I don't believe in taxes, okay? I don't believe in it. I think it's a myth. It's all just a Ponzi scheme to make you believe that you're doing something that you are required to do. People who get proud about paying taxes, I paid my taxes. Get over yourself, dude. Like, what does that prove? Like that you're more American than I am? No, it means that you got scammed more than I did. I think that all taxation is theft. And I'm not one of those people just point and be like, they're not paying their fair share. I don't care what they pay. All I care is about what I pay. Okay. And you should care about what you pay too. And that number needs to be as close to zero as possible. That is kind of where I do agree with Trump on this. And I think he was kind of more so pigeonholed into kind of saying this again and again. And it could be something to kind of make people feel hopeful. I don't think he's actually going to get rid of the income tax, at least on a federal level. But it's a nice gesture, I guess, to realize that we've been absolutely stolen from for so long and we just accepted it as normal when it shouldn't be. Taxes used to be, an income tax used to be used to raise funds for war. That's what it was used for. And so, yeah, then in that case, it would be your civic duty in a way to then help pay for the war effort. But then that would also require a declaration of war from Congress. And they would also require that everybody's kind of on the same page, at least the majority's on the same page, to want war in the first place. Most of us don't want war. Most of us don't understand why we're paying this income tax. And while we're on the topic of income tax, why are we paying our employers paying additional tax called employer's tax or employee tax? So they're double dipping and triple dipping, and for what? It's all just a massive Ponzi scheme to make you feel like you're doing something. And let me see if I can explain this the best way I possibly can. It's not just to make you feel like you're doing something, it's to make you feel like you're giving value to something. It's kind of a gamer achievement, right? Or a PlayStation trophy to life. It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't prove anything. It doesn't do anything but impede you from spending your money the way you want to spend your money. If you want to spend your money gambling, then go for it. I wouldn't advocate for it, but you should be able to do that. I rather take that money that I'm paying in taxes, saving it, right? Putting into investment of some sort, or even blowing it, and it's better than what they're doing with my money, right? And here's the other thing that your trolls in the comment section are going to say this, okay? You're going to say, well, given your income level, you're not really paying that much in taxes after all. And wrong. Here's where you're wrong. The employee tax. That's money that my employer could have paid me in extra wages. Then in addition to that, the 10, 15, 20, 25, 28% that I'm going to get taxed, which tends to lessen as the year goes along. It starts high and it kind of trickles down till I hit that number. That's money that I'm giving to them interest free. Even if I do get it back during tax return time, which refund time, even if I get it back during that time, some of it, that still doesn't negate the interest-free loan that the government took from me by force. I didn't opt to do it. They just took it. And they took it from me by force, and they got an interest-free loan. And what did I get for it? I get money that's returned to me later after it's been inflated, and it's worth less than when I gave it to them. So what's the point in that? Hmm? Okay, back to the whole point of the video. We were talking about what would actually happen. I think this whole rumor came along because of Project 2025. Ooh, it's been around for years. It wasn't called Project 2025 then when it was originally created by the conservatives who were ultra powerful in the late 80s and early 90s. If you guys remember the 90s, leave a like on the video. But this is something that's been around for a while. These conservative principles that they kind of want to tackle and get to over time. I'm not a fan of either the left or right being ultra powerful, okay? Because we saw what happened in the 90s when the right had more power, and we saw what happened recently when the left had more power. How about no one has more power? How about we get rid of as much government as possible, and they're only there to build roads and run schools and operate the fire and police department? How about that? Stay out of my life. I like that. I think we all can agree on that part at least. But Project 2025 did say something about altering the child tax credit in some way, shape, or form to maybe help benefit the economic position of the non-custodial parent. This is where this comes from. I think this was kind of designed to encourage two things. One, people to have more children, and two, to encourage parents to stay together, which I'm not inherently against those things. I'm not anti-natalist at all. But if you consider that the government only wants GDP to grow, then don't do your part in just making the citizenry larger for the sake of having a larger citizenry. If you're called to be a parent, then maybe you should be a parent. If you want to pass on something and nurture something and contribute in that way, then you should do that. But for those who don't want to do that, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Okay? There's nothing wrong with saying, I'm just not going to participate in that system. And that's fine. Here is how we're all going to wrap it up and get it together. And before I do that, take a moment. And if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. It helps me out a ton. If you like the video, please like the video and share this video because I'm still trying to grow and every single share helps me out a ton. Here's how it all comes together, guys. The government is going to do what the government's going to do that is in their best interest. And if there was some type of child tax credit reform that pushes more so in the men's rights direction, then it would be in the form of either removing child support altogether, giving the child tax credit exclusively to the non-custodial parent, or removing the penalties. But we do know that there are some grimy, dirty, lazy men out there. And I don't mean you beautiful people. Obviously, you guys are great. But there are some men out there who don't want anything to do with fatherhood. And they weren't asked, if they wanted to be fathers. They were just thrust into it based upon some things that they did. And I'm not here to say, oh, we should feel sorry for them. But what I am saying is that there are some bad guys out there who don't want to raise their kids. And we shouldn't put that burden then on the state to then do it. But there is also the argument of my body, my choice. Well, then the men should say my wallet, my choice. Instead of this being a man problem, this should be an everyone problem, right? We should all be encouraging our brothers, uncles, fathers in some cases, and friends to be good fathers, to stick around for their child, and to do right by their children. But in the same vein, we should all be encouraging our sisters, our girlfriends, our aunts, and our cousins who are female to choose better men. Okay? There are a lot of grimy dudes out there, and this is not me simping or anything by that measure, but I have seen it a lot where there's guys who make the bed and they don't want to lay in the mess. Maybe we shouldn't be encouraging that by giving them a child tax credit. Instead, we can either remove the child tax credit altogether for especially the people who have been abusing the system, or we can remove child support altogether and only punish those who are not present at all. I'm present in my daughter's life. I can at least high road that. I try to be there for her. I have her at least 3-4 days a week. It's great for me and it's great for her. And I'm trying to prevent the cycle from continuing. But just keep in mind that there are people out there who live in the high tower behind golden gates who don't want what's best for you. And it doesn't matter if you think that now Trump will be your savior in 2025 or whether you thought Biden's economic plan was good or not. It doesn't matter. What matters is at the end of the day, they propel their own self-interest at your expense. We have to understand exactly how powerful we can be when we are all together in this and we all understand exactly what's at stake. I agree that maybe Trump is right about getting rid of the income tax, but I don't know if it's going to be possible with tariffs. Then there's the issue of possibly raising the cost of everything because of the tariffs. Well, I can argue that if we get rid of the income tax and get rid of the employee tax, that money should be funneled back to the employee, making our labor worth more money. Then we can afford the higher prices due to the tariffs. Because what are we looking at? An additional 25% in some cases. But some of us are paying 30% just on our side in employee tax. I mean, in income tax. And how much is our employer paying? I was told once by one of my employers that they pay almost half of what I made per hour was going to go to taxes. So if you're making, I don't know, and this could be wildly wrong. I have to do more, more research on this. I could be wildly wrong. But if you're making $10 an hour, your employer is paying anywhere from $3 to $5 an hour in employee tax, which is craziness. I don't know if that's correct or not. It's something that we should maybe consider getting rid of that as well. Encourage employers to keep employees around, okay, and to pay employees more money. I think that's it for my message today, guys. Don't believe everything you see, okay? Do some research of your own if you got the time. I know we're busy. We're all out here trying to grind and trying to make more money. I get it. But just because you see a few TikToks and then some YouTube shorts that say Trump is going to do this thing doesn't mean that Trump's going to actually do that thing. He never said that he was going to do that thing. Don't blindly follow someone and be a trumpet. Hope you guys take care of yourself and take care of each other. And until next time.